Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Welcome to the Relaxed Retro Talk podcast. I am Dookie03.
And my name is DG Online. How you guys doing? Saturday night podcast. This is a first.
Yeah, dude. I'm digging the Saturday night. I have no energy during
the
day.
Saturday night.
You can probably tell I'm a little bit more energetic right now than I am when we record during the day because I like to nap during the day. Hey, guys.
Right. Yes, absolutely great.
So I've been thinking, today's topic is about the evolution of games. The reason being is I've been thinking all our like past podcasts, we've basically been talking about how like games were better back then. But really, there's a lot of like quality of life improvements and stuff that have happened over the years to actually improve games. I mean, the NES, although it has some good games, is not the fucking pinnacle of video gaming, right? So I figure we should talk about the positives of games as they are now and where they came from and how they got to where they are now and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
I guess, welcome everyone. I will put ! Pod. Basically, while we're recording the podcast, we will get to your questions and comments and stuff at the end, or not at the end, but when we have breaks in between. So keep it up in the chat. We do appreciate it, but we will not respond to you immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I mean, back in the day, I mean, obviously we had like Atari and stuff like that. We had like Adventure, where you're just a little block going through a maze. Graphical limitations to the max, right?
Yep.
And then you had the NES, where things started to actually look like things. You had games that played like games. You had characters. You had the story, impressive story for what they could do at the time. Impressive music for what they could do at the time. But as everyone today knows, if you've gone back and played any of those games, they're NES hard. And now games have, I mean, even on the PS2, I think, was when games really started having, like, an easy setting and stuff like that. Like, some NES games did. But now you have a lot, like, the first thing I want to bring up is, like, the easy difficulty. And one thing I want to say is there are people that will gatekeep the shit out of playing on hard. But honestly, like you're a dad. I have a full-time job. Most people our age are the ones that grew up playing these NES hard games. And honestly, I feel like playing on easy is fine. It's perfectly fine. You don't have the time to walk back and forth in that bush and grind so that you can beat that game. You don't have the time for that. You don't have the time to get good anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the world we live in now is the video games hold your hand. You know, there's the golden the Fables golden. It is fabled, I guess, but the golden trail that leads you to
the
where you need to
breadcrumb
go.
trail.
Yeah, the breadcrumb trail. There's the the nav points on the map. There's the TomTom arrow that's pointing you where you need to go. They've added these things as quality of life stuff.
Yeah.
But now what that's done is it's made a generation of gamers not be able to play without it. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
It's tough. It's hard
like
now to drop somebody into that. Yeah. If you drop a gamer now into a game, then their number one thing they're going to do. So right now I'm running through Final Fantasy 1 on stream, right? And so what I do with older games like that is I want to experience them the way that they were supposed to be experienced, which means no walkthroughs. We're not going through a guide. We're not going through anything. If you miss something, so what? That's just how it is. You didn't know it was there, so I guess you're going to have to figure that out down the road.
Yeah.
There's a lot of struggling. It's sometimes it's not a fun experience. It's one of those things where it's really, really tough. However, it's also really, really rewarding. Mm-hmm. And it forces you to really pay attention to the story, right? Whereas nowadays, a lot of these games, you can just hammer on that A button, skip through all of the dialogue, because it doesn't matter what the story is. You know that you got to go to the glowing mark on the map and get whatever it is that has there. You don't even know what it is. You're just going to the glowing space, and then the game's going to tell you what to do when you get there.
Yeah. I feel like in a way, like specifically talking about JRPGs, like that's kind of my area of expertise, if you will. In a way, I liked it because it added a little bit to world building. You know what I mean? Because you have to talk to everybody in the village. You kind of get to know some of these characters, even though some of them, I mean, some of them you get to know. Some of them literally have "Welcome to Oaktown" like as their entire existence. That's right. They live to tell you that you're in Oaktown today. But you kind of get, like, especially like some of the Dragon Quest games, like as you go through the games, through the worlds, each town kind of gives off a certain vibe. Each town, like, so even like back on the NES, like say like Dragon Warrior like 1 and 2, for example, you're going to go to these towns, you're going to have the port town, you're going to have the forest town, you're going to have the starting town, right? But already on games like Dragon Warrior or Dragon Quest 3 and 4, you're starting to get personalities in these towns because you have more than one port town. There's something that sets this town apart.
That's
you
right.
know what I mean? So that started building already on the NES. The Super NES made that skyrocket, and I feel like the Super NES is really where the world building really took huge new bounds and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, they had more space on the cartridge to do stuff, right? So, I mean, obviously, when you're in the NES, you're limited. You have a smaller amount of memory. You have less colors to deal with. So you have to take all of that into consideration. Plus, when you've got the music on there and all the gameplay and the stuff, something's got to take a bit of a dive. And typically, that was the world building of it, right? So that's why a lot of the times the games were rinse and repeat from one to the next one. You know, you look at a game like Mega Man, for example. Mega Man 1 through, was it 6 at the end of the NES?
Yeah, on the NES, yeah.
So while the games are all different, they use the same type of game, so you don't have to worry about overrunning on your memory. You've got this many bosses. Mega Man can do this many things, and they're adding things as the game goes on, right?
Yeah.
You get the slide, you get additional, but at the end of the day, it's still, like, if you were to break it down to its foundation, the game is built the same way through each one. It's just with different stuff inside, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. With platformers, like action platformers, it's very hard to do lore. I feel, right?
Yeah,
like you can do it now. Now you can do it definitely big time, especially like the PS2. Like look at like Ratchet and Clank and stuff like that.
You don't have a ceiling anymore. Now you can make that game as large as you want, right? A lot of the AAA titles are coming with like a 80 gig download.
Yeah.
I mean there is no more ceiling on how that game is. The limitation is now imagination. Is the story itself, or what you want to do with the game. There is no more ceiling on that. And to be honest with you, I think that actually plays against the way that the games are. They had to be incredibly creative back. We were talking about Castlevania and the music in Castlevania and how they were able to pull that off in addition to the rest. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. Is you have something that has been turned into a symphony. That is basically played in a full-fledged symphony. Playing in little beeps and boops and 8-bit,
and boops, and now you're playing it in a huge symphony. Yep.
And with the limitations of the NES cart in hand, it's amazing what they were able to do with that. We were also talking about this with Dragon Warrior. The fact that the character creation has a coding in it that changes based on your name because you are the hero. So your stats change depending on who you are.
What your name is. Your name determines all your stat gains and what you start as. So every person's journey is a little bit different.
All right. And so tucking this stuff in there, in through the limitations. They knew this is the ceiling. I can't cross this line. And if I do get to this point, I have to start bringing stuff down in order to make that happen. For them to deliver absolute banger level games at that kind of thing, I think made the game even better. While they have their limitations, like I said, they're not holding your hand. They're going to plop you down in a field. Hey, best of luck, pal. I hope you make it out alive. Otherwise, you're going to be playing this game a whole lot. You're going to have to figure it out because there is no guide. And there was no internet that you could just hop on to GameFAQs and pull up a walkthrough. That didn't come till years later down the road.
Yeah.
So that's just amazing to me.
I want to say that when I said that they didn't have, you couldn't have lore in action platformers, I meant you couldn't have world building. They did have lore in them, but you couldn't really do any world building. Like Mega Man, even today, like I have no idea what the world of Mega Man really looks like. You know what I mean?
Well, but the
you
thing
kind of
is,
see
too,
it
is-
in X and Zero the Zero games.
Yeah.
But
when they hit the Super Nintendo, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
when they leave the NES. The thing is too, a lot of the lore, you know, if we call it the story or whatever you want to call it in that case, a lot of that isn't actually in the game. It's implied.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like,
or
like
when you
it's-
turn the game on, there's like the wall of text you're supposed
yeah.
to read, right?
It's the year 20XX.
Yeah.
Dr. Wily is at it again.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like, and so I mean, you get that kind of story scroller that happens at the beginning of the game, and then you have the manual. The instruction manuals were also a key point of this as well, because they filled in. You know, there was a good, you know, depending on the game, could be up to 15 pages of just what's happening. I think back to like the Morrowind games, like the Elder Scrolls games. Was the same kind of thing. They filled in a lot of the blanks before, like the prologue stuff happened in the manual, in the instruction manual for the game. And maybe Morrowind's not the right, though if you go before that to like Arena and the other ones, and Daggerfall. But I mean, the idea being is that if you didn't have that manual, you're missing out on a bunch of key story points that you're not getting in game, because they're expecting you to actually ingest the whole thing and just live the entire world of it. Legend of Zelda is probably the number one thing that comes to mind, right? When you fire up Legend of Zelda, you're just standing in that field.
In a field.
If you don't go in that cave and get your sword, you're gonna have a short game.
Yeah.
It's gonna be very short. But I mean, if you don't think about that, you know, now it's obvious because it's been out for so long. But you know, that first time you pop that card in, you're like, okay, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And you walk north and you get killed by an Octorok, and boom, there you go, game over. I guess let's try it again. And
Try a
then
different
through
path.
through trial and error, you figure it out. That game, I cannot believe people had completed before they got a guide, because there's stuff in there that like it was impossible for me, even like, you know, coming back into it. I was like, I got to look this up. I have no idea what to do. And it's like, oh, I see. You have to walk to this little invisible square here and use the torch or use the candle to light it on fire.
To burn the bush. Like, how the fuck are you supposed to know that? It's so stupid.
And somebody somewhere in the world would say that, you know. We were talking, Simon's Quest was another one that was like this, right?
Yeah.
Simon's Quest gets a lot of bad press because of the way that it plays. But I mean, and I mean, the boss fight was basically like
Nothing.
it was a cutscene practically.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? But I mean, the thing is that everything that you need to know is in the game. You just have to know where to look for it.
And you have to decrypt a little bit, right? Like,
yeah, there's a lot of
the
that
bullshit. Yeah, yeah. I think another thing, like when people go back now and play NES games, they're going back without manuals too, right? So when we, like me and you, we grew up in a small town. Pretty much if you wanted video games, you had to drive to a city, and on the drive home, we would always read the manual, right? You can't play the game yet.
Half an hour drive.
Yep, you're hyped
Crack
as fuck
into that manual
to play this game, so you crack open the manual, you read the entire manual, you now know how to play the game before you even touched it, which eliminates all tutorial stages. You know what I mean? Like nowadays, you need tutorial stages because you don't know what the hell you're doing. Like, there have been games, I can't think off the top of my head which ones, but there have been games in the past like 5 or 10 years where I've been playing them and I've been like stuck, and then somebody will be like, "Oh yeah, you just gotta use this," and I'm like, "How do you use that?" And they're like, "Oh, you just press triangle. You could have done it this entire game, but you went through the whole game without doing it." And it's like, what? What? I could have been doing that.
Yeah. How did you know that? It's like, I don't know. You talk to this guy and he tells you how to do it. What?
Yeah.
Right?
Actually,
Like,
prime example, my friend Curse, she streams, she's been playing Bayonetta, and somebody in her chat was like, you're supposed to switch weapons. And she's like, what? You can switch weapons? But, like, you don't know. There's no...
it doesn't tell you.
Yeah, it doesn't straight out tell you. Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, and Bayonetta is new-ish.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not
brand new,
super
but it's been
new.
out for a while.
Yeah.
So I mean, and that's what I say. And you know what? And it's funny because a lot of the times it's a careful balance now, and I, you know, you kind of have to feel for the game developers where they're at now, is because they have to currently balance between making it too easy and making it too hard.
Yeah.
Right. If
you want
if
it
they
like
don't
user
tell you,
friendly,
yeah.
so more people can play and enjoy your game, but you don't want to handhold forever.
Exactly. Yeah, and that is a big thing to it, right? Because when you're looking at those NES games, Final Fantasy 1 is brutal without a walkthrough. Let me tell you, it is not easy, and it's not that that's a problem. It's simply just more the matter of it forces you to really look and really talk to everybody, and not only that, but then you're writing stuff down.
Yeah,
because
you
that's
have
where you're
to,
at.
I feel.
If you don't write that stuff down, you're never going to remember.
No.
So I had finished this one part, and I had a key item. I didn't know what to do, and so we just kind of struggled for an hour until it was like, well, wait a second, I've got this item. Figured it out. Boom, just like that. And it's like, oh right, I forgot that we got that at the last time when we finished this one spot. I'm being generic for spoiler reasons.
Yeah.
A 40-year-old game, but I mean the idea is that if I would have just wrote it down, then when I came back I would have checked my notes. I'd be like, oh right, we got this thing. Okay, now I'm on it. So the games force you to start being like that, where now they aren't. Now, if you know, you boot up Pokemon Blue, right? Perfect example. You boot up Pokemon Blue, the old game that you played long time ago, and you land in, and you're like,
what the fuck was I doing?
New game.
Yeah, pretty much every time, man. That happened to me with Pokemon Silver. I was trying to play it on a Retro Quest stream, and I was like, I think I have to go fucking get Sudowoodo, but I don't really know where he is even, because I don't even know where I am right now.
Yep.
But that kind of all brings it back to like the first thing I said. Like another thing is, as an adult, we can't get home from school, right? Like 3:15, 3:30, and play the game until 5, 6 o'clock every single day, have supper, play the game from like 7 until we go to bed, and do that every day. So we, as adults, we only get to play, pretty much, me and you anyways, pretty much only get to play games when we're streaming, right?
That's right.
And so there's usually at least a day or two, or for example, my Castlevania streams, I only play them once a week, right? So we don't remember what the fuck we were doing.
Exactly. Yep. And I mean because being adults, we're getting old, and that also is
our brains stop
as well.
working.
But I mean, the thing is that you're absolutely correct, right? I'm playing games because I'm streaming them. If I wasn't, then these are the same games that have been sitting on a shelf collecting dust for years. It's simply just the fact that it's really, really hard. I get about a 3-hour window once per day to do with whatever I want, and that doesn't mean playing games for 3 hours. That means that's a 3-hour free time kind of thing that I can choose to do with whatever I want with. And so it becomes really, really tough to do from one to the next. I will say though, in that same line of thought, I am glad that we did the way that we played it the way that we did for Final Fantasy without a walkthrough, because going through the walkthrough, I find honestly that I revert back to that type of gamer that I was talking about before, where it's okay, get to the checkpoint, doesn't matter why, this is what I got to do, pick up these things.
You're not really
buy this
invested
stuff.
in the story, the world.
Well, you're not even really thinking about what you're doing. You're just kind of doing it, right?
Yeah.
MMOs get this a lot, and I know you don't really play a lot of MMOs, right? But I mean, like, World of Warcraft is bad for this. There is a mountain of lore in World of Warcraft. There is tomes and tomes. Like, you could fill the room with books of stuff that happens. There's books in the game about the game. Like, it's so deep. And so what do? You go, you grab the quest. You see that exclamation mark. So there you go. You trot up. You're like, hey, how's it going? I hear you got a quest for me. He's like, traveler, you. And you're like, spacebar. spacebar.
Then you wait for the little box with the check marks to appear, so you can be like, okay,
that's right.
I need
it's
to.
Like, I don't really care what you have to say. doesn't matter. Whatever you're saying is irrelevant.
That's how I play
Just
MMOs
tell me
too.
where to go. And he's like, blah, 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 go kill 14 boars and bring back their tusks. And I'm like, all right.
All right,
I'm
got
like,
14
where's
boars, 2
where's the
tusks.
boars? Open up the maps, and now if you go, so before it didn't do this, but now if you go into World of Warcraft, you open up the map, and there's a little exclamation mark on the map where you need to go. So it doesn't even matter what you're collecting anymore.
You don't even
Now
have to
you
know
go-
what you're collecting.
It doesn't matter. You go to the exclamation mark space. You're like, guess I got to kill the boars. And then as you kill them, there's a counter on the side to tell you how many you've got.
Yeah.
So it's like you've got to collect 14 and you've got 2. All right, click, 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 gone. Okay, we've got 14 now. Teleport back to home, hand it in, and he's like, good traveler, spacebar, and it's just more of that.
Yeah.
So then, pretty soon, what you've uncovered is that you're no longer really playing the game and caring about the story. Now you're just playing the game, the technical pieces of the game. Erase the fact that we're talking Warcraft lore. Insert literally any other story,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's still the exact same thing.
But the
And that sucks.
yeah. But the thing is, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because if you didn't
Yeah.
have all that stuff, like we're kind of doing it to ourselves, right? There is lore there. We're just mashing
Oh,
the
yeah.
buttons to get rid of it.
You give me an option to skip it, man. I'm bound and determined to skip it
Yeah.
unless I have to. And so that's what I'm saying. That's what I appreciate about the way that we're doing Final Fantasy 1, because I can't if I can skip that. I can skip that discussion. I can walk right past that guy and not talk to him. But that is going to mean I'm not going to have any friggin' clue what I need to do next.
You're not going to get anywhere.
No. So I mean, you're right. It is a double-edged sword, and we are doing it to ourselves, and I'm gonna keep doing it to myself as we go forward.
Yeah.
That is in itself what we're talking about with the evolution. That is where we're at.
Yeah.
Right. You look Final Fantasy VII versus Final Fantasy VII remake. Even if you take the story out of it and just simply look at the game, you look at how easy it is in comparison to the way that those two games play. Right, you've got the full-fledged old school JRPG style. It tells you in game where you need to go, but if you skip through the dialogue, you're gonna end up
you'll have
wandering
no
until you
idea.
just stumble it.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas in remake, it's like, here's the arrow, go this way.
Yeah.
It's basically Double Dragon, right? It's like bing, bing,
Yeah.
bing, right?
I forgot about that. Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's something that helps us. It saves us so much time doing
Yeah.
that. But another thing I want to mention, since we're still talking about JRPGs here, is starting on the PS2, this started happening, and this is the greatest thing. Any game that doesn't do this kind of pisses me off a little. But with I think Rogue Galaxy was the first one I played that had this, but I'm sure there was some before that. But when you start loading the game, because you got to load the game anyways, right? You're loading your save file, the game's loading.
Well, you're on a disc.
So it's got the whole, it tells a whole story of what all happened last time you were playing. I know the newer Pokemon games do that too. That is perfect. That is the most positive evolution in the JRPG franchise of all time.
Give me the rundown. Let me know how it is, and that's kind of what I was leading to. And the way that I have to play games, I need constant reminders about what I was doing and where I'm going and what's going on. Like, it doesn't have to be like, last time you did this specifically, and you need to go exactly here, right? Like, it can be a little bit vague, but at the very least, give me enough that I'm able to kind of move forward a little bit, right?
Yeah,
I do appreciate that. Rogue Galaxy also is a game that I've never played that I do need to check that out.
Yeah, that's
Although
a
I've heard
very
it
good
hasn't.
one.
I heard it hasn't really aged.
It
well.
hasn't aged as well as like Dark Cloud 2 and stuff like that, but it's still a really good game. But yeah, it'll tell you, even if it's just story stuff, like not like they continue their quest for the stick of dicks.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. they heard an old man in Westminster knew about it, right? So you're like, oh shit, I gotta go to Westminster, get the stick of dicks.
I guess so. Here we go.
But other than JRPGs, let's look at even first person shooters, right? You had what's now called the boomer shooter, right? Which is probably in a way one of my favorite eras of the first person shooter. despite my intense hatred for mazes. Because these games are literally just mazes with dudes thrown in there that you shoot, right?
Oh, big time.
And like card keys and shit. That's the oh my god, that pisses me off so much. That's why I kind of like Wolfenstein maybe a little bit more than Doom, because there's not as many card keys. But
it's like, hey, look, there's a key card.
Yeah, oh, the little jingles and stuff, man. And you're basically just in a 3D maze, right? And then all of a sudden, what is it like? Was it the Quake engine that really kind of evolved that? And now you're in like open rooms and shit. And there was there was definitely open rooms in like Doom and Doom 2 as well. But but the environments were much more open.
It was different. Yeah. It wasn't until you got to so the shooters rode the same line through, Wolfenstein 3D, Doom 1, Doom 2, Quake 1, Quake 2. It wasn't until you reached Unreal Tournament, and maybe not Unreal Tournament, but the Unreal games, and then Quake 3 Arena.
Quake 3 Arena, man.
Before it was like actual full-fledged, like that kind of evolutionary step between those types of shooters and the current first-person shooters, right?
Yeah.
That was kind of the right in between. The thing is that I agree with you, but I find those games so incredibly frustrating to play because you had to play them without a mouse.
Yeah, that's true.
To play a first-person shooter 100% on the
arrows
keyboard is like
shit. Not
so
even
you're like
WASD.
arrows and it's like.
Yeah. Like now I play them on my Switch, right? So it's a lot better.
Yeah.
Playing Doom on the Switch is awesome. But yeah, like you said, you had like your Wolfenstein, then your Doom, then your Quake, and then the next big step there was like the arena multiplayer shooters like Quake 3 Arena.
That's when you started moving into
and that was awesome
Duke
too.
3D was in there, and
it still had that like arcade fun feel, whereas when like Call of Duty really started taking off and stuff, it kind of was like everybody was like trying to be too hardcore or edgy or some shit.
Well, yeah. The first iterations of Call of Duty were not great games. They were good, don't get me wrong, but I mean you had Call of Duty and Medal of Honor, and Medal of Honor whooped Call of Duty
Medal
every
of
single
Honor
time.
was way better back then.
And then that's right. And then Call of Duty 3 came out, right? And it was really good, like as far as it goes for a Call of Duty game. And then they released Modern Warfare. As soon as Modern Warfare came out, boom, Call of Duty basically just pinned right to the top. And then you didn't see anything else until Battlefield, or was it Battlefield? Yeah. The Bad Company games were coming out around the same time frame as well.
And then it got more like arcade funny. And
then
stuff.
all of a sudden, there was just a whitewash of FPS games, and they were all the same. They were carbon copies of each other. You had Call of Duty after Call of Duty after Call of Duty. I think there was one year where they released 2 in the same year, right? Because it's the same game. They're just putting new faces on it, changing the story a little bit. And people weren't buying it for the single player story anymore. They wanted their multiplayer.
Yeah.
They wanted multiplayer and they wanted zombies, and that was it. That was what they wanted to play.
And
so all of the work ended up going in over onto the multiplayer side of the house.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening was the single player. There was one game. The single player was like 4 hours.
Yeah, 3 hours. Yeah.
Awful.
Yeah.
I mean the single player story was good for what it was. But it was like, it's over already? Because they're like, you guys don't even want the single player. Mm-hmm. Why are we going to put any resources to it? We'll just give you the online and you'll be good to go. And it was about that time when I walked out. Yeah. Right? That was when I was like, well, I've got what I needed because I don't really do the online FPS like with randoms. I'll do it with friends and stuff like that. But I mean, that's just not my thing. And so what ended up happening is then that's when I kind of walked away. And then all of a sudden it just went, and then that's when you have Fortnite, PUBG. What was the other one?
Like DayZ.
DayZ was in there. You had what was the other one?
Or not? What the hell is that one?
Well, Apex Legends was a little bit later, but there was another one in there that was H1Z1. That was the one.
Yeah.
And those kind of where battle royale started coming out
Mm-hmm.
as a like a mod or like an expansion
Right.
kind of thing.
It wasn't its
And-
own. It was its
Right.
own genre, but it wasn't its own game yet.
Right, and now you've got, and I said Fortnite earlier. I meant Fortnite lands here, where Fortnite and Apex, and you've got Call of Duty Warzone and all these other
Yeah.
games, and they're just they're high paced, very very fast, action packed.
Yeah.
But it's all multiplayer, and it's you drop in, you do your thing, and they're fun. I mean, that is where the esports level of things.
Yeah.
That is the if you're gonna be the pro FPS gamer, those are the games you're playing,
Yeah.
right? People aren't playing the old ones anymore
Yeah.
because they don't translate, right? You go from like a Doom to where Doom is now, right? Like it is literally leaps and bounds ahead of it. And while the story and the essence of the game is there, it's nothing like its predecessor.
Yeah.
Literally
I would say
nothing like
Doom is more like Doom now is more like that Quake 3 Arena Unreal Tournament era, which is super fresh now because
Yeah.
everything now is battle royale shooter. I think the reason battle royale took off, to be completely honest, is there's only a few people that are really fucking good at first-person shooter games. The rest suck, like me. And here's the thing. I have played a little bit of Fortnite, back a couple of years ago. And
Yep.
here's the thing. You die, you hit a button again, you're back in another game. You know what I mean?
Yep.
There's no
yeah.
I keep dying, now I gotta wait to respawn, right? I think...
Do you want to know the other reason why people are into those games? It's a 4-letter word. FREE. They're free-to-play games.
That's true.
So you can get 1 million people playing your game if you give it away for free.
I thought you were gonna say fart.
Farts?
I don't know.
You get 1 million farts?
I don't know why. I got
So
four letters.
You can get
F-A-R-T.
4 letters. F-A-R-T. Fart. Though you can look. The thing is that you can get so many people into your game if you just hand it out for free. And I gotta admit, it works really well.
Yeah, it does.
I will pick up a game if it is free. I will pick that game up just to try it. Simply just for the fact that, hey, it was free, I gave it a shot, I liked it, I didn't like it, whatever, I moved on. If I get, 5 minutes, 30 minutes out of it, so be it. Right?
Yeah.
And so now it's become this whole realm of things where they're like, hey, we'll give you the game, but if you want specific content, that's when we're going to charge you.
Yeah.
Right? And so even then it's evolved even further into that where it's you've got the free games where the money goes to cosmetic stuff that doesn't matter, and you've got the free games that go to actual in-game proper items. Excuse me, that do do matter. And that do matter, right? So, and you're seeing that side of things die off.
Yeah.
Because people don't want to download your game and then pay for the content to actually need it.
Yeah.
So then you go to the cosmetic side because what is the cosmetics? Like, cosmetic items are incredibly, people want them.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to be that guy on the server who has that
Shiny gun
character
or
skin
whatever.
that nobody else has,
Yeah.
and everyone's like, "Oh man, look at this guy!" Right? And it literally does nothing to the game, but
Yeah.
all of a sudden now you have that. You see it in Overwatch, right? Team Fortress 2 was doing it with their crates. You would pay money, out of
yeah,
the
you'd
crate
have,
would
like,
come
hats
a
and shit.
cosmetic item,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
would have a hat. And then you'd see this guy in the game who's got this big beard and a funny looking hat, and it's like, wow, look at this guy, and you find out he spent like $400.
Yeah,
on
they're always
keys
like
opening
ridiculously
these crates.
expensive too.
It's stupid. Payday 2 was in the exact same spot, right? They gave the game away for free at a certain point.
Did
They're
they?
like, here you go, play the game. Yeah, they did.
Oh.
They're like, here you go, have it.
I
Free
love
game.
that game, by the way.
But here's crates. And so I think that's kind of where those types of games are evolving into, and it makes sense, right? From a developer point of view, the one thing you need for your game to survive is people playing it for those types of games, right? And I mean for all types of games. Let's be real. Let's be real. But I mean to keep an online game alive, you need people online.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why you saw this sudden shift of everybody going free to play, because that brings the people in there, and then they're like, okay, now that they're here, how do I get money out of them? I either got to get it by advertising, I get it by, a gotcha machine type of thing, or we do some type of cosmetic costume thing where you can buy it. We'll make them limited edition. These ones will be worth
Yeah.
more because they're only available for a week or two,
you
and
ha-
then they'll be gone.
It's kind of like gacha games too, right? Gacha games
Yeah.
are like
Yeah.
that, where you have to be like, oh my god, I gotta roll because it's gone in like 2 weeks. I'll never be able to get that item, and I really want it, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
One thing with first person shooters, like I like to. I'm not a big first person shooter fan, and I like to like categorize it in one fucking title, first person shooters. But it's not like that at all now. You've got like Overwatch, I would say, is more relatable to like that old arcadey Quake 3 Arena style. Really, if you think about it.
Yep.
Because you're not getting experience points, right? You're not getting stuff that's gonna make your character better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're not increasing or there's no RP elements in the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that, right?
Yeah. And it's just like in Quake 3 Arena, you just select your character. The difference being each character actually is different, right? So that's a thing.
Yeah, they all have a personality.
Yeah.
And a story.
And different like this guy is better at this, he does this, right? So it's more like a
character.
specialized version of like that old Quake 3 Arena. But even like the PS2 was a really cool and crappy era for the first person shooter because there was no standardized first person shooter controls yet on controllers. So you had like some games controlled like shit, some games controlled awesome. But then that's when you had like the Serious Sam games and stuff come out, which are probably like my favorite for first-person shooters.
Those are good games. I forgot about Serious Sam.
Yeah, it's just like your typical like backpedal and shoot like hordes of enemies. Like that's what I love. Just mowing dudes down, running backwards for my life. But you had games like that. And then you had games that were like Call of Duty 2, right? Like a serious like war story, Medal of Honor games, right? I played a lot of Medal of Honor on PC. There's like Allied Assault, Spearhead, Breakthrough, all those. They really took off. But I think the first person shooter, there's so many different variants of first person shooter now.
There is. Yeah, I mean that's and it was a natural divergence, right? Like I mean the thing is that if we go back again to where Doom was, where Quake was, it was one of a kind.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a first person shooter, right? It was like you said, it was
essentially a maze with
it was a puzzle game with guns.
Yeah.
Right?
Really.
So the thing is you had to go through and you had to find the collectible. It was hidden in a room somewhere. You had to figure out what the boss strategies were for this one guy, or you'd get yourself killed. Where you are now, it's changed from that for the most part. I mean, I hate to say across the board because obviously there's outliers in every aspect of it. But I mean, under your standard run of the mill battle royale first person shooter, your reaction time, right? The way that you play it, your accuracy, those things matter more than anything else in the game. If you can constantly get headshots, you can constantly be good at that game. If you can stay out of the fire, then you're better at that game than other people are, right? That's kind of the trade-off of where it's at. So it's changed the way that the game actually plays. It's less on the thing. You basically land, if you think about Fortnite, you land in a field with buildings.
Yeah.
There's buildings in the way. It's no puzzle. There's no real difficulty in that regard to it. The difficulty comes in the skill of the other players.
That's true, yeah. And yourself, like your own skill and the skill of the other players.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Definitely,
that's your balance.
Those old games did require skill. Like you still have to stay alive. But
it's a different type, though.
Yeah, it's completely different. That's true. One thing that as much as I'll like, I wouldn't say I shit on Halo a lot, but I'm not like a big Halo guy. Like I don't really like Halo. For years, I would say. Because people were like, oh my god, Halo revolutionized the first-person shooter. And I would say, no, it did not. But
no, it didn't, no.
But it did on console. It
console,
really,
yes.
Because there was a couple games that did use that control method that Halo used. But because Halo was so popular, Halo, that became the control method for all first-person shooters on console. And it worked really well. And the other thing about Halo is you went from... Medal of Honor, right, on PC, where if you got shot, I got shot a couple times, right? My health says 10. I have 10 health now. I have to find a health pickup. If I can't find a health pickup, I am fucked. But now,
good luck.
Now, first-person shooters, because of Halo, really, Halo revolutionized this. You get shot. Okay, you have a shield. You can recharge that shield if you can take cover for a little while.
Get out of the firefight. Yep.
And pretty much every single first-person shooter game, except I don't think Battle Royales do it, but every first-person shooter game pretty much has that now, unless it's like those arena ones and Battle Royales, right? Like Call of Duty, if you're playing regular Call of Duty, you hide for a bit, your health is going to come back to full health.
What I'm hearing from you right now, Duke, is we need more roast beef in the walls. We need to be able to punch a wall
chicken and shit
and pull out a chicken. That is the answer to all the questions.
Speaking of questions, we should get to our chats. There's been a lot of chat going on. Let's see here.
Just pop it out as you can. I've got a bunch of stuff going on in here. I've got Retro Realms basically has a question. He says, "Why is it nowadays that games are being released that aren't finished? For example, Cyberpunk went back even on the PS3 example. Uncharted games were made, finished, they were tested, and they were released." There's a really simple answer for that, and Finney touched base on this too. Is that games are released now with access to the internet. The intention is that they're going to auto-update. I think that's only a piece of the answer, though. Personally, from my point of view, the reason why that game is so broken is because, and we touched base on this on either the last podcast or the one before, but this is the AAA developer life cycle. If you're owned by Activision, by EA, by any of these big companies, right? They say that game comes out on this date. I don't care what state it is. You're releasing it. Period. End of story. And so what ended up happening with Cyberpunk is they had that date. They had that release date, and they said, "Look, our game is a mess. It is a disaster. We cannot release it on this day. We need more time." And so basically what ended up happening was they're like, "All right, fine. We will give you this much more time." And that's it. And so basically they earned another month before they started having to distribute it. And so what happens is the game moves into distribution while broken, and they're like, "That's okay, we'll fix it in a day one patch." But I think they severely underestimated how
broken it was.
They actually had to fix, because the game's been out for what? It came out in November-ish of last year.
Yeah.
Right? So we're talking almost half a year.
Months, yeah.
It's as far as I'm concerned, it's still unplayable.
Really?
It's unplayable on the console, and on the PC it's playable, but barely, right? As far as it goes, if you have your characters who talk to you, and it's one of the funniest things to ever happen too, by the way. The game's such a broken mess, but they're basically like, you'll walk up to a guy and he'll be like, "Oh, hello, good to see you."
Yeah, you see that a lot.
And then
Everybody's just T-posing on you, man.
He just T-poses and floats up into the sun, and you never see him again. He's just gone. It's like, okay, listen, if I got guys T-posing and floating off to the sun 6 months after, the game probably should have been released a year after, right? So, yeah, I mean that's.
I think another reason that happens is because you have the and I don't want to say the kids of today are like stupid or whatever, but you've got the younger gamers and stuff that are kind of conditioned to just be like, you're lucky you're getting anything at all. You know what I mean? So they'll still pay for it. And then the developers now know this because they've conditioned people to do that. And so they will release Final Fantasy VII Remake that's only Midgar. You know what I mean? For $80 fucking dollars.
And I don't think that's a younger gamer solely. That's true. Just the gamer apologist.
Yeah, that's
there's people there who are just so hardcore fan of whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Like, they take a crap and they wrap it in tinfoil and they're like, "Here you go. Here's your new game."
Here's Gundam Breaker 3 or new Gundam Breaker,
man,
kids.
Don't even say
Can't
those
say
words
that.
to me.
I'm gonna bleep that out
hurts.
in post.
Oh, that hurts really bad. The thing is that you have that level of apologists out there, right? Who are like, "Look, don't just leave them alone. They have a hard job." It's like, look, I understand that they have a hard job. Let's take the pressure. Let's take the AAA titles pressure off of that character. There was years, okay? If you think back, way back for Blizzard, for example, right? Blizzard was known for releasing quality games.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, they're not anymore. But I mean, you look back for the span from Diablo 1 to Diablo 2 to the expansion for Diablo 2, Lord of Destruction. Okay, there is a massive year gap in this. The gap from StarCraft 1 to StarCraft 2. Massive year gap. And the reason for that is because they actually gave a crap about what that game looked like, and then they released it once they had a fully fleshed out proper game, right? And then the job's not done. They're still patching it and fixing it up, but it's already a stable working game at that point,
Yeah.
right? And I think those days are gone, because the problem is that the contracts that these gaming companies are under, right? And we haven't got to the indies yet, because there's a whole bit that we should be talking about here with indies. But the thing is that these massive games, they're put under these contracts, and they accept that. They go under that for the dollars and cents that come with that game release. Right? Mass Effect is a perfect example of this.
Yeah,
because you have Mass
Andromeda.
Effect 1 that was released with BioWare with no EA. You have Mass Effect 2 that was released from BioWare just before EA took it over. EA took it over about a month before Mass Effect 2 came out. So it was still mostly BioWare. You look at Mass Effect 3, that is a pure EA title. It was a mess on launch. It was such a mess on launch that they had to release a patch, and it wasn't like the week after, by the way. We're talking months down the line. They had to release a patch that fixed the ending of the game. The ending of the game. That's how bad it was.
The one that they've been
right?
building up for 3 games.
Exactly. You're talking about 200 in-game hours.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, this ending is going to be so good. You guys, every decision you've made along the way,
Yeah.
from Mass Effect 1, Mass Effect 2 into 3, it's all going to be there. It's going to be amazing. And then you get to the end,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Yeah, didn't you say there's basically like 2 or 3 choices?
Boiled down to 3
basically?
choices.
Yeah, it whittles it
it
down.
was send out the red beam, the green beam, or the blue beam, and every one of them does the same thing.
No! And don't you make that decision at the end of the game, so it's not
At the
like
end of the game,
your
yeah.
stuff like put you on that path.
So, and I'm oversimplifying. I am oversimplifying this. There is story here.
Oh,
there is
yeah.
lore. There's a lot of stuff. Okay, there's a lot of stuff with the ending of Mass Effect 3 that people have added in over the years, where they're like, well, this is probably what happened. But the thing is that BioWare's not the one saying that.
It's the fans.
The people are.
Yeah.
The fans are the ones saying that.
They're
BioWare's just
looking
not
for
stopping them.
stuff to make it not
right?
suck as much,
and
kind of
and
thing.
so what ends up happening is, and I'm talking about the first time through, when I played that game the first time through without the fixed ending of it, right? You get to the end of the game, a game all about choices. Everything up to this point
Yeah.
was, if you don't like talking to this reporter, punch her in the face and keep on walking,
Yeah.
right? You get all the way through 200 in-game hours to the ending where they're like, which path would you like to walk down? These 3 paths. And it's like, can I not walk down these paths? No, you must walk a path. Right? And like I said, I am over. We could probably do an entire podcast purely just on this one. Maybe we'll aim that once the
remakes
the
or whatever,
remaster comes out.
remasters, yeah.
But I mean, the thing is that that in itself actually fits in with the evolution. Can you imagine them releasing an NES game or an SNES game, anything, well, let's say pre-internet, right, for consoles?
Yeah.
Can you imagine them releasing a game that had a busted ending?
Yeah. Well, they did release a lot of trash back then, but nobody played it.
Well,
Like, you knew
correct.
right away if this game was shit, and you told all your
That's
friends.
right. Sorry, I guess to make that like for like, let's say they were like, guess what? We've got The Legend of Zelda 3 coming out on NES, and you play Legend of Zelda 3, and you get to the end, and then all it is Zelda's dead. That's it. Well, why is she dead? I'm not telling. Game over. Have a great life. See you later.
game over.
Right? Like, I mean,
One thing I do...
it's just, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
One thing I do want to say, though, is because you were talking about it kind of at the beginning of the podcast here, and it's kind of weird because we were talking about how the games on the NES pushed the limitations, right? So you had your limitations that were about at this level, right? But then you had the NES games that would like, we can figure out a way to weasel more data on this cartridge, right? So they'd kind of push the ceiling up a little bit. And then the PlayStation, yeah, like any console, the early games, the ceiling was about here, like pretty low, right? And then as the console was around, the games kind of raised the ceiling a bit. I feel like since the PS3, I want to say, since the PS3 era, the ceiling that the console is capable of doing is way up here, but what developers are able to do with it are down here. And as each console generation comes out, that gap is not catching up. It's getting further. No. So we are not playing, like when we play PS4 games, these games are not pushing the limits of the PS4. Like almost none, I would say.
Oh yeah, and well, I mean, prime example, and they do this every console launch. It's always the same thing too. I mean, man, we're back on the damn console launch titles again. But PS5, Spider-Man Miles Morales. You take that game, and you have the PS4 Pro, and you've got the PS5.
Yeah, it's the same fucking game.
And it's the same thing. Don't show me the links. No, this one's 4K and that one's not. Come on.
Yeah.
You're looking at the same thing.
The same
it doesn't
game.
matter. You're not looking at the pixels. You're looking at the screen.
Yeah.
I don't care. Your brain can only translate so much of this.
Yeah.
So don't piss in my face and tell me it's raining. That's not how it works. It is the same game. Don't let them off the hook.
Yeah.
If they're gonna make you pay, and I'm spitting. I'm so mad. I'm spitting.
Yeah, it's fun.
If they're gonna make you pay $700 for a new console and give you the same game that you have on the console you already have, don't buy it. Simple. Very simple. Now the thing is that over time, and you're right, that gap exists through the life of that console, because by the time that they kind of hit that peak, and over time those games as they're being developed, they're getting better and they're looking better and everything looks awesome.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden now then the PS5 will be gone and here comes the PS6.
Yeah.
There's still kind of this gap, gap.
Even when the PS6 comes out, I feel like they will not hit the cap of what the PS5 can do.
Yeah.
Just like they never did with the PS4, just like they never did with the PS3. I feel like it's more important now to come out with a new console than it is to push the limits of these consoles. I feel like that.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, considering the cycles that the new graphics cards, the processors, and all the technology that's here, to be perfectly honest with you, I think we only have a couple more iterations of consoles before they're done.
Yeah.
Before consoles don't exist anymore. You see it already happening with Xbox's Game Pass and with Sony's what do they call it?
PlayStation
It's not
Now.
Game Pass. PlayStation Now or whatever it is, right?
You can play that on
it'll
PC,
be,
I think.
It'll be service based, and so what they'll sell you is a box. It'll be like a little console, like a little connection point that connects to the internet, and then you pull your resources from the internet.
Yeah,
you'll pay Sony $25 a month or whatever it is, and you'll never have to buy another console.
Yeah.
Right?
Which kind of sucks because you can't own the games then, right? You don't really own
But that's what they want.
Yeah,
they don't want you to own the games. Because they're like, go ahead and buy it digitally on the PS1. You're going to get rid of your PS1 and have the PS2.
Yeah, and then you'll buy the game
again.
You'll buy it on again. That fucking console. Yeah,
it's the best plan. I mean, that is basically where this is going, right? And it's inevitable, and it's not that that's a bad thing. It's just you're seeing the death of that.
It's bad for the consumer.
You know,
it is bad for the consumer. No matter what way you look at it.
Yeah, it is. I mean, at the end of the day, the person buying the stuff is the one losing, because you're never actually getting ahead of the curve. But the thing is that is the full evolution of the console itself. It will eventually land into that.
Unfortunately,
that world.
I think you're right.
And it sucks, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but the thing is now consider this, right? And this is kind of my own fanfic of sorts, right? But the thing is that the consoles will go this way, and this is where I want to unpin indie. Indie will save the day. They'll come out with some type of indie console that plays indie games. Yep. And then that'll be the death of the AAA titles.
That's true.
Now,
I could see that happening
those AAA
too, now that you mention
those
it.
AAA titles are never going away. The Call of Duties, those are here for life.
Yeah.
The whatevers, the battle royales, not for life, but I mean, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Is they're not going away anytime soon. That is the type of games that people want to play. So they'll continue to make that type of game. They'll just put different flavors of it. There was one game, Spellbreak or something like that it was called, where it was a battle royale, but you were a wizard. You were firing magic off instead of using guns.
Yeah.
You would find a thing. It would change the magic that you do, right?
Yeah.
So you'll see them pushing the boundaries of those, but I would really like to see like that indie console, and we've seen it. Like the Ouya, for example, was an indie
That's
console.
too bad. Dude, whatever happened? They were making a new Intellivision. Do you know whatever happened with that?
No idea.
I gotta look that. I gotta look that up.
I have to check that out.
But I do want to get to some stuff from chat.
Yeah.
Kame said like half an hour ago. He said gaming also used to be a lot more of a niche thing back in the NES, Super
That's
NES
true.
days. Most gamers had the time because we were nerds. Now the market is much more open to the vast majority of folks, and therefore we have this shift where the average skill level is significantly lower than it once was, and developers have to cater to this in order to make them sales. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Because
That makes total sense.
me and you have been playing games our whole life, but because of how popular games are now, you're going to have all these people that either never played games or never played games to this level.
We literally had this exact discussion today. We sent a message, and I was like, we were talking about Final Fantasy. I was like, bring back Sakaguchi. And Duke's like, yeah, but he's making these games for Apple Arcade.
Yeah,
and I was
Fantasian.
like, there it is. There it is. In order to play games now, you have to have a friggin' phone, and you play them on your stupid iPhone instead of a real console. It drives me nuts. I hate that.
I hate mobile gaming.
I hate mobile gaming. I don't like it, not even a little bit.
Yeah, dude, I absolutely hate mobile gaming.
It's too funny.
The nice thing is though, like talking about Fantasian, is you can play that. You can play that on your TV. There are ways, especially if you have like Apple TV, stuff like that. You can play that with a PS4 controller because it's Bluetooth.
Yeah.
I'll find a way. I'm gonna play that game because Sakaguchi has made some of the best games of all time.
Absolutely. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure the game's fantastic.
The best part is Nobuo Uematsu. It did the soundtrack. It's the same dynamic duo that's always been doing those games.
So it's basically a Final Fantasy.
It's real Final
game without
Fantasy,
the Final
not
Fantasy.
this fucking shit that they've been shitting out lately. You know what I mean?
No, Murad. I've got a bunch of stuff kind of pop. Missed. So here's the thing. I missed a ton of stuff in chat. I just can't scroll back up. I'm gonna full on apologize. Retro says this is called Relax Retro Talk. This is a heated, angry rant. we're not heated or angry.
No.
We're passionate. The thing is that, and I hope you guys agree, is that this whole podcast was on the evolution of games, right? And we're literally talking about the full-fledged, the life and death, the cycle of it, right? Where this is headed and where people basically want it to go, right? When I say people, I don't mean like
us.
people.
Yeah.
I mean
the corporations,
people, right?
Right.
Where they want it to go is they want to soak you for every penny that you have. So they're going to come up with limitless subscriptions, and there's going to be boxes and everything. And you saw it, Star Wars Battlefront 2, right?
We've been playing that. Out. Oh my god, man!
Right? Like that is the
what
games that they want to create. They want a game where you want to play that game, but the only way that you can play it is by giving them money for a chance, like a gambling chance.
Ooh, remember when this was the PS3 era. Games would come out, and if I bought this game brand new, it would have like an online code in it. Remember that?
Yeah.
And then if you bought it used, you would have to pay that game company so you could play online.
So brutal.
I'm glad I don't think that's around anymore, but that died off real quick.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it was the same thing with the first iteration of the Xbox One. It was the same thing. When you bought a game, it was locked to that console, and it was dead. You would never be able to use it somewhere else, right? It is inevitable that that's where it's going. The only thing standing in the way are people like us who are like, "What are you doing? Get out of here! If you want to go and create those kinds of games, go play it on the mobile games. Go play it on the phones. Take your gambling and go stick it on the iPhones.
Yeah.
Leave the console stuff alone."
Here's the thing.
You get everything. You get everything in this podcast.
As much as it sounds like people are going to be like, "Oh, you're entitled. You're complaining." We're not complaining.
I'm not complaining at all.
We want games to continue to get better. That's what we want. We want games. to get
I
better
picked up-
instead of worse.
I picked up Cyberpunk on release. I did. I picked it up because the thing is that when those games drop, you grab them. When the next Elder Scrolls game comes out, I will pick that one up too. I picked up Fallout 4 when it came out. But the problem is that every time the AAA companies, and I know that this is turning into another AAA versus indie thing.
Yeah,
where we
yeah.
hate on the AAA titles, but frankly, the AAA titles are either a sequel, a remake, a remaster, or the same game released under a different pretense, right?
Yeah.
You have a prequel, or you have something. There's no fresh ideas coming out of there anymore.
Yeah, not very often.
Right? Like,
And when you do have a
thing.
AAA game from a AAA company, chances are, if it is really good, it's because they're outsourcing it to another company to make that.
Or
game
they
for them.
bought it off of an indie group.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They're like outsourcing
Right?
it to someone.
Yeah. They were just like, that's a great game. Let's buy it. They buy the company up, and then they make it bad from that point forward.
Sometimes, yeah, they make it bad.
Right.
Or they'll buy the company and then be like, yeah, we're never making any games that these guys were making.
Yeah, well, and
That-
that's just it.
I don't know why they do that. Like you'll have like when Microsoft bought like Rare and they're like, all right, we're gonna make one Banjo-Kazooie game. It's gonna be a very terrible kart racing game, and also no more Conker's Bad Fur Day either. Like,
And then we're
why'd
gonna
you
sink
buy
this
it if you didn't
forever.
want to make any
Yep.
of the fucking games?
It's just I'll never understand it. Rocket Monkey says AAA titles are released broken and or unfinished, where indie games are released as early access. There's no difference. I disagree. Right? I think both AAA and indie games utilize the early access.
It's more like a
realm of
beta
things.
test and stuff. Like I remember on the PS3,
yeah.
you could get access to like I remember playing the Resistance 2 beta, right? And you just send like
Right.
feedback and shit. But it
But
was
those
free.
those are betas though. Those are full-fledged betas. What Rocket Monkey's referring to is a game that you buy as early access, which means you pay that game, you buy it now. It's not ready to go yet. You get access to however it exists in its current state. And then they're going to keep building on it. And they're going to keep it's like they released it, like I mean literally that they released it early. But the game is so unfinished where a lot of times, like for example, I bought Baldur's Gate 3, which was early access, where you'll play, let's say I put 30 hours into this game, and they're like, hey, we're releasing a major update this week, so everybody's progress is being reset to 0.
Ooh,
Dead.
Not
Poof,
good.
Gone.
That's not good.
So I never went back. I was like, well, forget it then. I'll play this game when it's actually properly
Yeah,
released.
that's not good.
And that's the slap on the wrist that needs to happen every now and then, where it's like, okay, this is not what I want. Valheim get brought up as early access, and that's another one too. It's the idea that these indie companies will come up and they'll a lot of times it's because they run out of money. But the thing is that they release the game in a functional state, but not a completed state,
Yeah.
because they want you to buy in, and then having you buying in is what brings them the resources to
finish
continue
the
developing.
game. Yeah,
it,
that's
right?
true. And I think a lot of them do it because they want to know what the players like, and they want to know
Yeah.
what direction you
Yeah.
want to take it before the
Yeah.
game is finished.
I'm okay with early access. I don't have an issue with that, with the asterisk being on how early
Yeah.
early is this access, right?
I've only ever bought one early access game, and that's that 30XX. It's like that Mega Man X
Yep.
game, and
But that's worked out really well for you.
it's been awesome. And every
Yeah.
couple months or whatever, it's there's like new stages or new shit
get
you
some
can
new
do. But my
content.
character hasn't been erased, so that would fucking crush me, man. if
That
they
would
did
be brutal. Well, and I mean, the things, you don't have to install the update. You can keep playing on the version that you have, right? But I mean, for me, I have my stuff set to automatically update. So
Yeah.
if they push that through, it's gone. It's just toast. And they warn you. They tell you, like, hey, you're playing early access. Here's some of the things
that's
that
the
can
thing.
happen.
Yeah, you know what you're signing up for when it says early
so
access.
it's not like you can even be mad at them about it.
And the other
Right?
thing is, if an indie game company is releasing something early access, odds are it's like $20 to $30. It's not
Yeah,
$80
we're not talking
for
$80
Cyberpunk.
bucks.
You know what I mean? That's a huge
Yeah, and
difference.
Cyberpunk, let's be real, Cyberpunk was not early access. That
No.
was full-fledged release.
That was released, delayed by like almost a year, late access. Yeah, exactly.
It's just, yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things. I can't shit on the indies too much though, because the thing is that the last games that I've played, that have not been retro games, okay? The newest games that I've played, every single one of the indie games has been an absolute banger. Absolute. And every one of the AAA games has sucked really bad.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and it's just this dichotomy where it's at. We talked about this in one of the other podcasts where the ideas are happening in the indie space because they have what we were talking about
Passion.
earlier, where they have that and they've got that air gap to work with. They know that they have a ceiling in there and that they can work within that and they can do what they want and they can release it on their own time frame. They don't have to worry about deadlines or any
That's
of these
true,
other
yeah.
things that they would if they were under a contract with EA, right? They've got contracts and whatever the companies that they work with, but
Distribute, yeah.
if you're one guy working on a game, Stardew Valley, for example, if you're concerned,
Yeah, you
Ape,
can do whatever
you're
the fuck
doing
you
your
want.
thing.
Yeah.
He was replying in Twitter to some guy was like, "This is a thing that's broken in Stardew Valley." He responded back. He was like, "Hey, I just fixed it. You'll get the patch."
Yeah, I saw that. I saw a screenshot of that.
Done.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, it's just that is the game. That's where gaming is going. It is actually going, and it's splitting. Right? You're seeing that split happen where the AAA titles are heading off to, even further into, not heading off into it, even further into the DLCs, the gambling stuff, the trading card stuff, there's a current meta so that if you bought all this stuff now, it's no good 6 months from now. You got to rebuy more. Hearthstone is a perfect example of this, right? Where
You have to pay if you want.
you have to keep up. And so you buy these cards and you pay for this stuff and you build your deck, and then 3 months later they retire some of these cards out. Now you got to replace them. Well, guess what? If those were your key cards in your deck,
You're
you're
fucked.
building a new deck.
Yeah.
And when you're building a new deck, they're like, here's a new expansion we're doing. These cards are brand new. Here's one free package, and you're
Yeah.
gonna need to buy 300 more packages if you want to build one of these decks.
Because you don't know what you're getting.
Or you need the in-game currency, which you have to blow up cards in order to get, which means you have to buy more cards to blow up cards to get the in-game currency.
good, man.
Like, and the thing is that you can sit here and you can be mad at them about it, but what they've done is they've built a business purely on that, where they're just raking in money hand
And
over
people
fist.
still play it. There's a lot of people.
And
that
people are
still play
perfectly
that
fine.
game.
That's a massively played game.
Yeah.
Hearthstone, and it's fun. Hearthstone is fun to play. But for somebody like me who's been out of it for years, it's impossible for me to get back into it without spending money.
Yeah. One thing I do want to say is we can't kid ourselves. There are probably a lot more shitty indie games than there are good ones. But just like what I say is like anime in the 90s, only the good stuff is like we only see the good stuff. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Like you look at like anime now, it's like fucking horrible. Like lots of shit, like garbage. But back then, the only stuff that made it to North America was the good
Cowboy
stuff. So we
Bebop.
thought all anime was good. And that's kind of how indie games are right now. We're kind of at that point right now where you're kind of only really seeing the good stuff. And that's kind of the best way to do it, really.
That's true. That's true to a degree. I mean, the thing is with game clients like Steam and Epic Games and all these, you have access to all of the indie games that are released on those platforms. The thing is that the best ones rise to the top.
Absolutely.
And they become visible that way. You can go in there and you can find all the stinkers.
Yeah.
But the thing is that if I pay $12 on a game and it's a stinker, all right,
It's not
it was $12.
$80.
I'm okay with that. If I spend $100 on a stinker when it shouldn't have been a stinker, that's a problem for me. That's a big problem for me, right? Okay, every time now from this point forward, every podcast we have is just going to be bagging on new Gundam Breaker.
I feel like in editing, I should just bleep it every time too.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Exactly.
basically, we've covered most of how different genres have evolved over time, the way gaming is going, the way we hope it goes. I guess the only other thing we haven't really talked about is VR, which is really becoming more and more popular. Like, my friends, out of my our friends group, there's probably almost like once Paul gets it, there's probably more people that have VR than don't, which is crazy to think about.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
And
I have a headset. I picked up an Oculus Rift or an Oculus Quest. It's fun, dude. I thought it was dumb. I was like I'm not getting that. I wear glasses. This sucks.
I wear
don't want to have this
glasses.
thing on my face. I don't have this thing on my face, and I've never heard of half of these games. I gotta tell you, dude, it's ridiculous. It is. I thought it was gonna be gimmicky as all hell. It's the same thing.
It used
I
to
had
be
the same kind
gimmicky.
of. Oh, 100%. 100%. You look at some of those old ones, and I mean, the thing is, too, you see some of the VR sets that are like the cardboard box that you slip your phone into to get the VR kind of look.
I used that
but I mean,
for
the
a
thing
little
is,
while.
yeah, the thing is that where the way these headsets work, and the reason I got the Oculus Quest was on the price. Because the thing is that the Valve Index is the VR headset. The headset. If you want to play VR, that's the one you want. It's $1,100.
Holy fuck! No.
And I'm like, I'm just not doing.
No
Oh,
way.
by the way, it's $1,100, and you need a $2,000 computer in order to actually play these things. So yeah, the evolution of VR is there with I gotta say with the Quest. Now the thing that sucks about the Quest is it is tied in like this with Facebook. Like it is,
Oh,
it
that's
is
so
a,
weird.
it is a Zuckerberg machine, man. Like that thing is watching you all the time. No, I'm
That's-
just kidding.
what?
But the thing is that it's Oculus. Oculus is owned by Facebook, right?
Oh,
Facebook
I
owns
didn't know
the product. But the thing is that what I mean to say, I was joking. Zuckerberg, don't zuck me. The thing is that that is the answer to expanding VR, and the reason why that's the answer is it's $300.
It's affordable, more affordable. Than
You
it
have
has ever
everything
been.
you need, and you don't need anything other than what comes in the box.
Yeah.
The games. You need to buy some games.
Yeah,
okay?
but
you buy the
you
games
have
on the
all the
internet and you
equipment you
download
need
them.
for that price
Yeah, you
point.
don't need a computer. You literally don't need a computer to use it. You can use a computer. If you buy VR games on the computer, you can connect it to the computer. You do your thing, right? But the thing is that it's ready to rock out of the box. And so I was like, this thing's gonna be gimmicky. My little brother brought his in, and he was like, look, just give it a try. No harm. Just try it out. If you don't like it, at least that way you know. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fair. And so we fire up some of these games, man. There's a ping pong game on there. If you once you really get into the zone and you forget that you're holding a controller, you would swear you're playing ping pong.
Yeah. Hey.
Like you would swear it's literally the same thing. If you turn your hand too far, that ball does not go where you want it to go.
Oh, that's good. They
And
got
you
the
can see that
physics and
paddle.
stuff all down.
It's like it's bang on. If you want to do a real screamer, you can make it do that, no problem. If you want to give it some spin and you pull on the racket when you're doing it, you'll watch the damn ball spin.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
Blows
it's
my
awesome.
mind. It's absolutely crazy. I would highly recommend everybody to try. VR is not for everybody.
No.
It is
A lot
by
of people
no
get
means
sick
for everybody.
too, still, right?
Yeah,
that's
there's
a big problem.
There's this game that I picked up where you walk. So the one thumbstick you push up and you're walking forward.
Can I say
and
that's
the
what I
other-
hate most about the VR games is you can't fucking walk. You just like click and
Yeah.
teleport.
This
one
has
I
walk.
hate about them.
This one has walk, so
Oh,
you
okay.
walk with the one side, and you can teleport with the other side, because if you want to do a dash or something like that, you can do that, right? But the thing is that it has that locomotion feel. So like when you're holding up, your body wants to move back because you're moving forward, so it's trying to like your body's trying to correct.
Oh yeah,
for
that
moving.
would fuck you up a little, hey?
It's messed at the beginning, and then you start to get used to it, right? And then you get into it. Well, this game, and Sirath was playing it on stream. It's called Until You Fall, and you're swinging swords, okay? Like my arms are still sore, dude. I played this game for 45 minutes. I could barely lift my friggin' hand because you're literally swinging, and you have to do it in order, and you have to do it in the right direction, and then all of a sudden some guy will come up to you and you have to block his thing, so you have to put your hand up and it blocks the thing and you parry it and oh man. I'm fangirling out over it right now, but I got to tell you, it is phenomenal. It is something for everybody to try. Not everybody would like it, but the thing is about VR is there is a game for everybody. So if you don't do the motion thing very well, there's games that don't have that in it. That ping pong, perfect example of it.
Yeah, you're just
standing behind
standing
a
in space.
table.
Yeah.
You're literally just playing, right? Now, a $400 ping pong machine, probably not
not
ideal
worth
unless
it.
you're really into ping pong. But the thing is that keep in mind too. I now have a full-fledged. I would go so far to say that I could pick up a paddle at a real ping pong table and play, and everything that I did in VR would translate perfectly over into real life. That's how it feels, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy. And so to kind of jump back onto what your point was, I think VR holds a place in the gaming life cycle of things, but I don't think it's the next evolutionary step because it's not. It is not for everybody. My wife, for example, she can play some games, but if those games do that locomotion thing, she's like, poof, get that headset
really?
off.
Hey.
I don't want anything to do with it. I want nothing to do with this thing
Yeah.
because it just messes with you, right?
See, I haven't played any games like that. But here's the thing: my only experience with VR games is literally in a VR arcade where you're in like a fucking gymnasium and playing like Dragon Quest. You like I played Dragon Quest VR. And so to stand in a room and teleport around, I don't think that's not for me.
Did they have the walking pad underneath you, or did you literally was just in a big room walking together?
I was in like a gymnasium. Like,
yeah, so you had lots of space to move and stuff.
Yeah, you're in like this huge gym.
And you were actually walking though. It wasn't like you're
yeah,
holding
I was
sticks,
walking.
or were you,
I was physically running, walking, slashing, blocking, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You have
Okay.
like it's cool because the way they have it is so that the whole thing's weighted, so it's like you're wearing armor. But your laptop, the laptop that runs your shit, is on your strapped to your back, right?
Okay. Yep.
But they have it so the weight's balanced, so it feels like you're wearing armor and stuff, right?
That's
and
cool.
then the there's something in the sword, like they give you a sword and a shield, and there's something in the sword's actually only like this long, but there's like a slider in it, so they can tell how hard you're slashing based on how far that's sliding and stuff, right?
Right.
But to me, VR is still not at that point where I'm gonna buy it because the games, as much as I love arcadey games, the games to me are still at that arcadey point. You're not gonna get this huge story like in a VR game. You know what I mean?
And I don't know if you ever will, right?
I think you will eventually. I think eventually it's going to come.
Yeah, I think it depends, right? For somebody like me, and by the way, you can play games like Skyrim and Fallout and stuff in VR.
Yeah,
and you can
that's
do
true,
all that.
yeah.
But I mean, keep in mind. So for me, and I mean, and everybody's going to be different. But after and depending on how you're playing the game, if you're just sitting there playing it, I say why even have the damn headset on? Just play the game.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you're going to be swinging around and stuff like that, man, after a couple hours, dude, I'm sweating. I'm dead tired. My hands just fall down, right? Like I think the longest stint I've done in VR period is an hour and a half. And like Sirat did 6 hours that night that we streamed with him.
That's
and
nuts.
like by the end of the night you could see him. He's just huffing. He's like
yeah.
because it's physically demanding, right? Like and in a good way, honestly, I don't think I've had so much exercise since I have had that stupid VR headset because you're literally physically moving around.
Yeah.
Right? I truly don't think I could do longer than 2 hours. So to have a big, long, epic game, I would do one of two things. One, I would just not finish it because it was just too much.
Yeah.
Or two, I would put myself to the point where I literally couldn't play it anymore.
Save your
and
game.
have to stop and take a break.
Yeah.
And then be doing nothing but like, oh, I really want to keep playing that game. Right? And then physically not being able to do it. So
I think that'd be cool though, because then you have like fitness goals on top of, you know,
exactly.
Really.
The thing is that I think VR has a place. I don't think it's the answer. I truly believe PlayStation did it right as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
the console should offer a VR solution.
Should, yeah.
Right? There should be a headset for each one of these consoles to allow for people who don't have a gaming computer.
Yeah.
Right. Because the thing is, like I said, the Valve Index is an $1,100 headset.
Yeah.
It's just the headset. The games are on top of that, and you have to have a gaming computer that can actually support that. Right? When the graphics card is $1,500 just on its own.
Yeah.
In order to do this.
Friendly yet. It's not.
No. And so for me just to say, yeah, go ahead and get a VR headset and this is the one that I recommend for you, you're not going to do it. It's just that is non-existent. And for me, that would be non-existent.
I really wish that VR arcades would take off over here. And I'm not talking like, because we have a VR arcade in my city, but it's like, come to this greasy fucking hole in the wall and play
and
Beat
put my
Saber.
Oculus Quest on.
Yeah, play Beat Saber. But to have these games where, with the quality of Dragon Quest VR, with the quality of we played a Pac-Man game where you're in this fucking maze, physically running around, collecting dots, and chasing ghosts and shit like that.
Yeah.
If they had that, you would get much more enjoyment out of these games. The problem is the startup costs have got to be insane for
Oh, yeah, it's ridiculous.
actual massive VR arcade, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, I mean, each set, right? So, and I know the HP unit has one of those backpack things.
Oh, okay.
That you could do it that way too. But I mean, as far as it goes for a cost, I would say you're probably talking at least $4,000, $5,000
That's nuts.
for each
Game
setup.
Yeah, each game.
Like just the setup of it
and then
alone.
and then
not,
if you're
not to
playing
mention
in
you
an
need a
arcade,
space.
you're gonna want more than one player because you got to make your money. So then you got like 4 of those for each game.
Yep.
That's,
so you need that.
That's
you
like
need you need
$16,000.
a large space where people can spread out and not
Yeah.
smack into each other and break your equipment.
Yeah, like
right. It's not viable. I don't think.
no, it was expensive to get in. It was like $120
believe it.
just to get in, and then once you get in,
Yeah.
you still have to pay to play the games.
Right.
But it was amazing. The other thing is as much as it's not for everyone, it's also like kind of for everyone, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. Oh yeah.
my wife would never be caught playing like RPGs. Like she's played Star
Mm-hmm.
Tropics, she's played Bomberman. That's basically her limits. Bomberman
Right,
and
right,
like
yeah.
stuff she played as a kid. But we went in there and we were like playing Dragon Quest. She didn't know a fucking thing about Dragon Quest. She's like, I want to be the witch. So she was the witch, and she's holding her wand up, shooting fireballs and shit. Anybody
Yep.
can do that. You don't need to know anything
yeah.
about the game. You're
Nope.
having a blast. You're killing fucking
That-
slimes and shit.
And that is 100%. That is the VR experience.
Yeah.
So it's kind of on the same realm, right? I've got my wife into playing Beat Saber. She doesn't do video games, period.
Yeah.
Right? If I gave her a controller and said, "Here's Mario, run left and jump," we're not getting too far on that, right? But she puts that headset on and she's smacking those blocks just like anyone else because it's simple. I have a stick, I've got a matching color with an arrow, smack, there we go, done. You're probably going to fail the first couple tries, but as soon as you get the understandings of it, away you go and you're done. There's literally no uplift on that from that point forward.
So in a way, it's the most user-friendly thing, but in another way, it's the least user-friendly thing because the costs are so high.
The investment to get it up and running is that's the thing. I mean it's not for everyone, but I think everybody should try it. Yeah, that is 100%
I agree.
for sure. Yeah.
But that's pretty much it. I think we've covered pretty much everything, unless there's something kind of off the top of your head that you want to get to before we wrap.
Not really. There's a lot of chat going on about VR. Apparently, Elite Dangerous is supposed to be the space simulators are supposed to be really good in
sick
VR.
In that one. That one's a little crazy. There's some fast,
that would be a little bit tough.
Twisting movement in that one. You should try it though.
Like,
let me know how you fare.
Yeah. And they're talking about Flight Simulator too, and Sirath was talking about this, right? He was like, you literally sit in the cockpit of the plane, and you can look out the window, and you can see the ground, like as if you're flying a real friggin' plane.
Imagine if you were going to crash, how scary that would be.
It would be free. It's bound to happen. We should ask him to stream that. I wonder if he would stream it for us.
He should,
so we can see.
But
it
one
too.
thing I will say, my wife went from like literally barely knowing what Dragon Quest is, despite me being a giant fucking fan, and to actually kind of wanting to play through Dragon Quest 9 with me co-op. So like
to get the story. That's cool.
Yeah,
that's very cool.
So it brings new people
VR did its thing.
to gaming, but the startup cost is crazy.
Absolutely.
And until that comes down, that's basically VR is where it's at until that comes down.
Yeah. That's basically all I got here. I did my little command to kick the straw poll back into chat there.
Oh yeah, guys, we're gonna be watching a movie in the Discord, having a watch party. So if you haven't joined the Discord, please join the Discord. I will put the podcast thing here, and I will also drop the link to the Discord. We're going to be watching either Double Dragon or the Street Fighter movie, so whichever one you want to watch, vote for that one. And as far as everything goes, I just want to congratulate you on reaching your, 200 follower goal?
Ooh, yeah, we crossed 200 followers. Twitch chat let me have it. We have a little thing on the channel here where we spin a wheel, and I have Coke Zero and ice, and they can spike my drink with some whiskey if it lands in the red zone. So we increase the size of the red zone. So you want a couple quick stats? 76 spins in one night, and 17 lands, which means we put 17
Yeah, you were
shots
fucked.
into
You were pretty fucked.
I don't remember the stream very good. But I mean, I was dizzy. I speaking of VR dizzy, motion sickness. I had motion sickness coming away from the stream.
I remember
but no,
after that
thanks, man,
stream.
yeah.
I remember after that stream because we were all still in voice chat, hanging out.
Yeah.
And you were like, "Guys, I don't think I can get out of this chair." you were like, should I even try?
I don't even know if I should get up. I'm gonna fall
That's
over.
That's like what? What did you say? 14, 17 drinks?
17.
That's
yeah,
nuts.
17 shots.
I've never drank that
it
much in my life. So
that was a lot.
I don't know how
That was
you're alive.
that was a hefty, and we don't measure over here on this channel. We just pour, man.
Pour
Whatever
and pray.
comes out
You heard
comes
of
out.
spray and pray.
So,
He pours and prays.
this is a pour and pray. So yeah, no, thanks, man. Yeah, I just want to thank everybody and everyone for coming out and watching the podcast. I know it's a little bit different content than what we typically do on either of our channels,
Yeah.
right? But it's just cool to kind of hang out and chat, and Duke puts this up on his YouTube if you want to check it out after. This goes up on YouTube. It also goes up on Spotify. And this is episode 9, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, there's no real set schedule. We kind of just
when
do
we
it
have a topic,
when we're
kinda
able
do
to
it.
go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You can follow me on twitch.tv/Dookie03. I'm usually playing JRPGs right now. I'm playing Skies of Arcadia, and then Sundays I play Castlevania games. And my YouTube channel is youtube.com/Dookie03.
Yep, and I'm at twitch.tv/DG Online. I'm on every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday for D&D night. We do all kinds of crazy stuff over here. So
All
make sure you
right,
come check us out.
all right, guys.
If you didn't notice, our schedules, they interlock. So you got a little
Exactly.
bit of something every single day between the two of us. That's
Yeah,
great.
absolutely. All right, thank you guys so much for coming out. I hope you enjoyed the podcast, and we will be back, baby.
We'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one. See ya.